I'm not afraid of who I am. I'm not afraid to tell the world who I am. I'm Michael Sam. I'm a college graduate. I'm African American, and I'm gay.
That was Michael Sam boldly announcing to the world that he's gay. Nassib became the first active NFL player to come out publicly in 2021. And Ryan O'Callaghan planned to commit suicide multiple times before finally finding the courage to live authentically. These are 10 NFL players who came out as gay, starting with Michael Sam. Making history as the first openly gay player to be drafted into the NFL came with a price that few could have anticipated. Michael Sam, a defensive end drafted by the St. Louis Rams in 2014 after a standout college career at the University of Missouri, became a symbol of courage when he publicly came out just months before entering the league. Growing up in Hitchcock, Texas, in an environment marked by family instability and poverty, Sam first acknowledged his attraction to men during high school, but kept it hidden, fearing it would compound the hardships he already faced as a black athlete in a conservative community. Football became his refuge, a space where he could excel without scrutiny of his personal life. Yet the sport's ingrained homophobia deepened his sense of isolation. By college, he had confided in a few close friends and dated men discreetly, but the pressure to conform intensified as his star rose. The decision to come out publicly stemmed from a desire to control his narrative after rumors began circulating in football circles. In February 2014, he shared his truth in interviews with ESPN and the New York Times just ahead of the NFL Draft Combine. His message to the world was clear and unapologetic about who he was as both an athlete and a person.
In which I like to see myself as that I am a team player. I can make plays. I can help teams win games. And that's all that should matter. I'm not afraid of who I am. I'm not afraid to tell the world who I am. I'm Michael Sam. I'm a college graduate. I'm African American, and I'm gay.
This moment was both liberating and terrifying. His Missouri teammates, whom he had told the previous summer, responded with overwhelming support. However, the broader reaction was mixed, with praise from LGBTQ+ advocates, but skepticism from others who questioned whether his sexuality would distract teams. Drafted in the 7th round, lower than his talent suggested, Sam attributed part of the slide to homophobia, noting that anonymous scouts made comments about his orientation influencing their decisions. His brief NFL tenure was fraught with challenges. After preseason success with the Rams, he was cut, then joined the Dallas Cowboys practice squad before being released again, never appearing in a regular season game. He ventured to the CFL but retired in 2015, citing mental health concerns, including the exhaustion of constantly proving himself amid whispers that his sexuality played a role in his exclusions. As of 2025, over a decade after his announcement, Sam continues advocating through public speaking, emphasizing how coming out empowered him to live authentically despite the setbacks he faced. Michael Sam broke barriers publicly, but another player lived his truth in silence for years before his 2021 announcement. Nassib. For years, the locker room was a place of constant vigilance, where every word had to be carefully measured and every personal detail concealed. Nassib, a defensive end who played for teams like the Cleveland Browns, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Las Vegas Raiders from 2016 to 2023, spent much of his life concealing his true self amid the rigid norms of professional sports. From a young age in Pennsylvania, he sensed his attraction to men but pushed it aside, fearing it would clash with the image of strength and heterosexuality demanded by football culture. The locker room became a place where casual jokes and assumptions about dating women reinforced his isolation, making him feel like he was living a lie even as he built friendships with teammates. This internal conflict weighed heavily, leading to moments of deep loneliness and self-doubt. A pivotal moment came with the loss of his gay uncle, who had only revealed his orientation on his deathbed. This regret mirrored Nassib's own fears and sparked his resolve to change. As his career progressed, the pressure intensified. Being in the public eye meant every personal detail could be scrutinized, amplifying his anxiety about being outed. Therapy became a lifeline, helping him unpack years of suppressed emotions and build the courage to embrace his identity. In June 2021, Nassib chose Pride Month to share his truth via a heartfelt Instagram video, expressing his desire to inspire others who might be struggling in silence. His reflection on the journey captures the transformation that coming out brought to his life. The aftermath brought overwhelming support from fans and players alike, though Nassib remained aware that he was now a symbol in a league where openness was rare. He spoke openly about how hiding his sexuality had affected his relationships, preventing deep connections and contributing to mental health strains like anxiety. Coming out allowed him to date openly and advocate for LGBTQ+ causes, including supporting youth through donations. He described the freedom as transformative, no longer compartmentalizing his life, but integrating his identity fully into everything he did. While Nassib found peace after years in the NFL, another athlete's journey took him from football to reality TV before finally embracing his truth. Colton Underwood, being cast as The Bachelor, seemed like the perfect way to prove heterosexuality to the world, but it only deepened the internal conflict that had been brewing for years. Colton Underwood, a former NFL tight end who had brief stints on practice squads for teams like the San Diego Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, and Oakland Raiders from 2014 to 2016, grappled with his sexuality in an environment that prized traditional masculinity above all. Raised in a devout Catholic household, he first recognized his feelings toward men in adolescence, but dismissed them as sinful, leading to years of self-loathing and attempts to pray the gay away. Football exacerbated this struggle, with its culture of bravado making him feel like an imposter among peers, where any deviation from the norm could invite ridicule. He experimented privately, but buried those experiences, opting instead for relationships with women that felt forced and unfulfilling. His foray into reality TV as The Bachelor lead intensified the facade, with the show's narrative of romance clashing with his inner turmoil. This resulted in emotional breakdowns and a high-profile engagement that ended amid his unresolved identity crisis. Looking back, even the show's most dramatic moments hinted at the internal struggle he was facing. Underwood later admitted to using the platform as a distraction, dating women publicly while secretly questioning his attractions. This led to dark periods of depression and suicidal ideation. A blackmail incident involving visits to gay venues forced a reckoning, prompting intensive therapy, where he confronted his realization of being gay. In April 2021, Underwood came out on national television, his voice breaking as he shared how he had hated himself for a long time, revealing the exhaustion of living inauthentically. The response was polarized, with praise for his bravery from some but accusations of exploiting his story from others. Through his Netflix docuseries, he explored gay life tentatively, addressing criticisms by acknowledging his privilege as a white gay man. Coming out unlocked genuine relationships and plans for fatherhood, allowing him to advocate for others facing similar struggles with their identity. Underwood's public coming out made headlines, but one former player waited decades before finally revealing his truth: Martin Jenkins. Spending over 60 years concealing your identity takes an extraordinary toll, but for one former NFL player, late life authenticity brought unexpected joy and historic significance. Martin Jenkins, a former NFL defensive back who briefly attended training camp with the Seattle Seahawks in 1977 after a college career at the University of San Francisco, spent decades navigating his identity in worlds that demanded discretion and conformity. Growing up in a close-knit black family in San Francisco during the 1950s and 1960s, Jenkins felt the stirrings of his attraction to men early on, but the era's societal taboos, compounded by religious influences and cultural expectations of masculinity, led him to suppress those feelings deeply. Football, with its emphasis on physical prowess and team unity, became both a passion and a mask. The brief brush with the NFL amplified the pressure to conform, where any hint of difference could jeopardize opportunities in a league not yet ready for openness. He described this period as one of internal conflict, reconciling his faith, his race, and his sexuality in silence. He often felt like he was living parallel lives to avoid judgment from peers or family. Transitioning from sports to law, Jenkins built a distinguished career as a prosecutor, judge, and advisor, but his personal life remained guarded. For years, he dated women and even considered marriage, all while grappling with a truth he wasn't ready to voice. The fear of professional repercussions in the conservative legal field mirrored his athletic days, leading to a prolonged period of self-denial that affected his relationships and sense of self. It wasn't until his 60s, after achieving significant milestones like serving as a federal judge, that Jenkins began the process of coming out. A key catalyst was his nomination to the California Supreme Court in 2020 by Governor Gavin Newsom, which thrust him into the spotlight and prompted him to address his sexuality publicly for the first time. In interviews, he spoke candidly about the relief of no longer hiding, saying he had denied himself for so long and was finally happy. Becoming the first openly gay justice on California's highest court marked a historic moment. He has since shared stories of finding love later in life with a partner, emphasizing how authenticity has brought joy and deeper connection. His narrative serves as a testament to the quiet strength required to challenge norms, inspiring others to live fully without the shadows of secrecy that had defined his earlier years. Jenkins found love in his later years, while this next player discovered his bisexuality and built a relationship that's now 6 years strong. Ryan Russell. Bisexuality in professional sports remains one of the least understood and most stigmatized orientations, with many athletes feeling pressure to choose a side or stay silent altogether. Ryan Russell, a former NFL defensive end who played for the Dallas Cowboys and Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2015 to 2017, confronted his bisexuality in a sport that often equates strength with rigid heteronormativity. Raised in a supportive but traditional family in Texas, Russell recognized his attractions to both men and women during his teenage years, but the hyper-competitive world of college football at Purdue University forced him to prioritize his athletic identity over personal exploration. The locker room dynamics, filled with casual homophobia and expectations of dating women, made him feel compelled to hide. This led to relationships that felt incomplete and a growing sense of isolation. He later described this as living in the yards between his true self and the persona he projected, a metaphor that captured the emotional distance he maintained to protect his career. His journey to self-acceptance was long and painful, rooted in childhood experiences that shaped how he viewed himself. As a professional, the stakes heightened. Russell dated women publicly while privately acknowledging his feelings for men, but the fear of being outed or discriminated against kept him silent. A turning point came in 2019, amid injuries and free agency uncertainty, when he decided to come out via an ESPN essay, declaring himself a talented football player and a bisexual man. Initial reactions were mixed, with support from allies but skepticism about whether bisexuality was valid. Russell addressed this by emphasizing, "It's not a phase but a core, part of who he is." Shortly after, he began dating Corey O'Brien, a relationship that started on a dating app and evolved into a committed partnership. By 2025, with over 6 years alongside O'Brien, he openly shares how the relationship has fostered growth, allowing him to explore his identity without fear. Russell's journey highlights the nuances of bisexual experiences in male-dominated spaces, encouraging others to reject binaries and embrace the full spectrum of their attractions. Russell found acceptance through coming out in his 30s, but this next player waited even longer to live authentically. Jeff Rohrer. Marrying a woman and raising children while suppressing your true identity for decades is a sacrifice that speaks to the power of societal pressure and fear. Jeff Rohrer, a former NFL linebacker who played for the Dallas Cowboys from 1982 to 1989, spent much of his adult life concealing his attraction to men behind a facade of traditional family life and post-career pursuits. Growing up in a conservative environment in Texas, Rohrer internalized the era's stigmas around homosexuality, leading him to marry a woman in his 20s and father 2 children while suppressing his true feelings. The NFL's macho culture during the 1980s, under legendary coach Tom Landry, intensified this pressure. Locker room banter and societal expectations made openness unimaginable. He later described feeling like he was playing a role both on and off the field, where any vulnerability could undermine his tough guy image. After retiring, he navigated a divorce, but remained deeply involved in his kids' lives, all while privately exploring his identity through discreet relationships with men. He was haunted by fears of alienation from his family and former teammates. The turning point arrived in his late 50s when he met Joshua Ross, a younger skincare entrepreneur. Their connection sparked something profound that challenged his long-held secrecy. Their relationship blossomed quickly, but Rohrer grappled with the implications of coming out in the conservative world of Texas football legends. In 2018, at age 59, he publicly announced his engagement to Ross in a New York Times interview, becoming the first known former NFL player to marry a man. The wedding, attended by supportive Cowboys alumni like Everson Walls, symbolized a major shift, with Rohrer expressing relief at finally living authentically. Post-marriage, Rohrer and Ross have redefined family by cohabitating with his ex-wife Heather and their 2 teenagers in a blended household. This arrangement fosters an environment of mutual respect and love that defies traditional norms. The couple's 23-year age gap drew media attention, but Rohrer addressed it candidly, noting it enriched their dynamic. In recent years, including warm receptions at Cowboys events. Rohrer has become an advocate, sharing how shedding secrecy brought emotional freedom and inspired others in sports to confront their truths. Rohrer's late-life revelation brought freedom, but this next player's silence nearly cost him his life. Ryan O'Callaghan. Planning your own suicide while playing professional football reveals the devastating mental health toll that living in the closet can exact on even the strongest athletes. Ryan O'Callaghan, a former NFL offensive tackle who played for the New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs from 2006 to 2011, used football as a deliberate shield to hide his sexuality. He was convinced that being gay was incompatible with the sport's demands. Raised in a rural California community with strong traditional values, O'Callaghan recognized his attractions to men in high school, but viewed them as a flaw to be eradicated. This led to self-destructive behaviors like overeating and substance use in attempts to prove his masculinity. College at UC Berkeley and the NFL draft amplified this struggle. The locker room's hyper-masculine vibe, filled with homophobic slurs and assumptions of straightness, made him feel perpetually on guard. This isolated him emotionally, even as he formed surface-level bonds with teammates. He later revealed planning suicide multiple times, seeing death as the only escape from a life he believed no one would accept. Football served as his beard to delay what he saw as inevitable. His perspective on why football became the perfect hiding place reflects the sport's culture and expectations. A critical shift occurred near the end of his career when injuries forced reflection. Confiding in a Chiefs trainer and then GM Scott Pioli in 2011 provided unexpected support, challenging his fears of rejection. Pioli's empathy, informed by his own experiences with gay family members, helped O'Callaghan begin therapy and reconsider his self-worth. Publicly coming out in 2017 via Outsports at age 33 was a calculated step after years of private healing. Since then, O'Callaghan has channeled his experiences into advocacy, founding the Ryan O'Callaghan Foundation to support LGBTQ+ athletes through scholarships and mental health resources. His 2019 memoir details the toll of hiding, including strained relationships, internalized homophobia, and near-fatal despair, while celebrating the joy of living openly. Recent engagements include speaking on Super Bowl panels, urging current players that acceptance is possible without sacrificing success. O'Callaghan's foundation helps young athletes today, but when this next player came out in 2014, the landscape was very different. Brad Thorson. Choosing Independence Day to declare your personal independence from the closet carries powerful symbolism about freedom and authenticity in America. Brad Thorson, a former NFL offensive lineman who attended training camp with the Arizona Cardinals in 2011, following college stints at Wisconsin and Kansas, spent years silencing his inner truth in a sport that equated manhood with unyielding toughness. Raised in a Midwestern family with strong values of perseverance, Thorson first grappled with his attraction to men during adolescence. However, the conservative culture around him, coupled with football's emphasis on hyper-masculinity, led him to bury those feelings deep inside. In college locker rooms, casual homophobic language and man-up rhetoric reinforced his fears, making him feel like an outsider. Even as he bonded with teammates over shared hardships on the field, he dated women to fit in, but these relationships felt hollow. This exacerbated a sense of disconnection and self-loathing that he masked with dedication to the game. After his brief NFL experience ended without a roster spot, Thorson transitioned to a career in finance in San Francisco, a more progressive environment that allowed tentative exploration of his sexuality. Private dates with men brought initial confusion and guilt, remnants of his upbringing and athletic past, but also glimpses of authenticity. The catalyst for coming out publicly was the broader cultural shifts, including Michael Sam's announcement earlier that year. This inspired Thorson to reflect on his own silence. On July 4, 2014, Independence Day, he published a blog post titled Personal Independence Day, declaring he was gay and detailing the relief of no longer hiding after years of internal struggle. The process was cathartic, as he described in interviews, lifting a weight that had affected his mental health and relationships. It allowed him to reconnect with former teammates who offered support despite his initial anxieties. In the decades since, Thorson has maintained a relatively private life, but has used his platform to advocate against toxic masculinity in sports. He has written op-eds about how phrases like "man up" perpetuate harm and exclude LGBTQ+ individuals. individuals. He has spoken about building meaningful relationships post-coming out, finding a partner and community in San Francisco that affirmed his worth beyond athletic achievements. Though not in the spotlight like some peers, Thorson's narrative underscores the quiet revolutions in personal identity, showing how confronting silence can lead to a fuller, more connected existence. Thorson quietly rebuilt his life in San Francisco, while this next player walked away from the NFL entirely to live openly. Dorian Bryant, walking away from a potential NFL career at age 24 to live authentically, represents one of the most difficult choices an athlete can make. Dorian Bryant, a former NFL wide receiver who attended training camp with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008 after a record-setting college career at Purdue University, chose to step away from professional football at a young age to live openly as a gay man. He prioritized authenticity over potential stardom. Growing up in a working-class family in New Jersey, Bryant first sensed his attraction to men during his teenage years, but buried it amid the pressures of excelling in sports, where the image of a tough, straight athlete dominated his world. In high school and college, the locker room environment, rife with homophobic jokes and expectations of dating women, forced him into a pattern of denial. This led him to date girls publicly while exploring his feelings in secret. This double life culminated in a painful outing by an ex-boyfriend during his Purdue days, a betrayal that left him reeling with fear of exposure. However, it also sparked initial steps towards self-acceptance among a small circle of trusted friends. He described the incident as a wake-up call, highlighting the vulnerability of navigating relationships without full openness. Yet he continued to hide broadly to protect his football dreams. As he transitioned to the pros, brief opportunities with teams like the Titans and Cowboys arose, but Bryant felt the weight of secrecy intensifying. The fear that his sexuality could derail contracts or invite discrimination in an unforgiving league became to assault charges and media outing. Headlines revealed his relationship, forcing him to address his sexuality sooner than planned. In subsequent interviews, including with CNN and Outsports, Harris expressed regret over not coming out during his playing days. He opened up about the emotional toll of years of compartmentalizing his life, avoiding deep connections to prevent exposure, and the relief mixed with vulnerability of finally acknowledging his truth at age 30. The incident, while painful, became a turning point. It prompted therapy and reflections on how cultural expectations had fueled his self-denial. Since then, Harris has maintained a lower profile, but has shared insights into his healing process, including building healthier relationships and reconciling with family, who eventually offered support. By 2025, he continues to advocate through occasional public discussions, emphasizing the importance of mental health resources for closeted athletes. His journey highlights the intersections of race, culture, and sexuality, evolving from a narrative of conflict and secrecy to one of resilience and quiet empowerment. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.